That song never gets old. Hello, everybody. Welcome to After Action Report, your numbers recap show for all Schmoedown matches to get you caught up on all the action. And just as a reminder, we are going to be going over the entire Schmoedown pay-per-view at the end of this episode. So, official spoilers, if you have not watched the matches, if you're a $10 patron or you didn't get your matches tickets through Schmoedown Live and you don't want to be spoiled, fair warning, we'll be getting into those towards the end. But as always, I am joined by Nat, our favorite fantasy guy and one of my favorite co-hosts. How are you doing?
I am doing great, Megs. How are you doing?
Doing excellent. We had a pretty stacked week. I've got some stuff that I want to talk about here towards the end that I am super excited about. A lot of great things happened towards the end of the week, and definitely some things that I discovered while looking into the stats that I am going to officially geek and nerd out about. This might be the most geeky show that you guys have ever seen me do. But without further ado, this is what we're going to be covering this week. So we had Bradley Tingle versus Ty Lieberman, two rookies, first headed off during the first match of the week. Then we had Mark Edward Hoyk, a not necessarily rookie to the league, but a rookie to singles division, against another true rookie, Griffin Newman. Ended the week with our regular matches with Eric Whiteley versus John Hoey. And then we had the Throwdown event with Stacey Howard and Kevin Smith in the undercard singles match. And the main event, a singles title match, Collins versus Murrell II. So without further ado, we are going to go ahead and hop right in. Thanks all to everyone who's tuning in on replay or joining us live. But without further ado, let's hop in here. First, we had the Cube, Bradley Tingle, going up against the Tyrant, Ty Lieberman. Loving both of these guys as characters. Jumping into round one, we had them tied at 6, both missing 3 questions there. Then when we jump into round 2, since Bradley Tingle was announced second, he was offered to defer or to spin first. He decided to defer, where Lieberman takes Sigourney Weaver on his first spin, where he sweeps that category 8 for 8. Brad spins away from Sly and Ernie on his turn and ends up taking classics, able to get 4 out of 8 questions there, where he gives up 2 1-point steals there at the end, which has now tied up by 6. 16-10 going into the final round, where Brad hits a 2 and 3-pointer in Spielberg and Animated, respectfully, but he is unable to hit a 5-pointer in Thrillers, giving Ty the win by TKO or Ty KO. Very, very entertaining one-liners there. With a final score of 16-15, where Brad Tingle is able to answer 10 of 15 questions for 67% accuracy, scored 56% of 27 available points, and Ty Lieberman answered 12 of 14 questions for 86% accuracy and scored 84% of 19 available points. So first off, just looking at those numbers, obviously we're being able to put up 80+% accuracy on your first match for Ty is impressive. And I'm wondering if this would have been a very different game had Brad spun anything but classics. Nat, any thoughts about that?
I definitely think it would have been a different game if Bradley spun something else, because classics is arguably the hardest category, I would think, because no matter who you are, I've seen people who have listed classics as their strength and still struggle with it, like Lon Harris, like Paulo Yama, like RB3. Right. Classics is just such a wide range of movies that you can't know them all. I don't care who you are. So that was definitely a hard category for Tingle. I will say that he did play very respectable. I think he put up some solid points, some solid numbers. But I am so impressed with Ty, because 85% in singles is huge. It's a pretty big deal. And the fact that he was able to do that while maintaining his character is so impressive to me. I can't wait to see more of Ty in the future.
Absolutely. I think all of these rookies, it's going to be really exciting to see these guys moving forward. But let's move over into another match where the Enigma, Mark Edward Hoyk against downtown Griffin Newman. Now, Mark Edward Hoyk, this is his first singles match. However, we have seen him in the Horror Free-For-All as well as in teams. So he's not necessarily new to the league. This is the first time seeing him out on his own. So as we jump into the match, we see that Newman is up by 1, 6-5, coming out of that first round. And then we see that Newman elects to spin first. He spins away from Black Cinema, ends up on opponent's choice, and is then given Black Cinema as a result of that, where he is able to go for 6 out of 8, missing a multiple choice question, but is not stolen by Hoyk. And then Hoyk spins away very definitively from Fantasy Sci-Fi and ends up with Disaster Films, where he ends up with 5 out of 8 questions, giving up a 2-point steal that is swept up by Newman. So Newman gains another 3 points, which now puts him up 4 points, 14-10, going into the final round, where Hoyk is able to avoid the TKO, hitting a 2-pointer in Spielberg, misses a 3-pointer in Directors, but does hit a 5-pointer in Oscars, which bounces it back over to Newman, where he hits a 2 and 3 in Crime and Brad Pitt, respectively, which does give him the win with a final score of 19-17, where Mark Edward Hoyk answered 10 of 16 questions for 63% accuracy and scored 61% of 28 available points, respectively. Griffin Newman answered 12 of 15 questions for 80% accuracy and scored 79% of 24 available points. So a little bit of a rough outing, not necessarily a high score match here, but definitely still something to take away from, and something that's going to be coming up here next week. I'm going to be actually taking all of our rookies that we've seen so far this year and giving them a little bit of a performance review. So something to look forward to next week. So I'll be breaking down all these new rookies that are coming in that we've seen thus far, kind of comparing them to each other, seeing how they're stacking up in respect to each other. But Nat, what were your thoughts on this match particularly?
Just for a quick tangent for a minute.
Yes.
I love how our numbers went up, our viewer numbers, and then John Lastrina pops in the chat, drops a Fast and Furious quote, and then our numbers went down. So I assume he just went in, dropped a quote, and then left. So appreciate that. But
I
anyway,
can always count on John to give a Fast and Furious reference. Yeah. So that's a given. So I always appreciate it though.
I appreciate it too. To the match, if you saw a call live, yes, the other day. John's here. The other day, you would have seen my fantasy segment got kind of cut off. So it works out for me because I can repeat the stuff I said without people realizing. So I think it's so impressive that Griffin Newms, which is his actual name now, Griffin Newms,
right? Yes,
beat Mark, who's a veteran of the game. This is his singles debut, but he's played a lot of matches and he's been impressive in all of them. So it's so impressive to me that he was able to triumph over a veteran like Mark Edward Hoyk. Mm-hmm. I think that he did a very good job navigating the Black Cinema spin, because that I've seen, like, this season alone, we've seen so many competitors struggle with that. So I think he did pretty well. So I commend him on that. I think Griffin Newms is going to be a force in this league.
He very much is looking that way to start off with. So again, once we kind of we start seeing more matches from these guys. Hopefully, once we get into tournament season, we'll be able to see a lot more of these guys, depending on how widespread the singles tournament is going to be. And again, keep an eye out for a performance review on all of our rookies we've seen thus far for next week. But without further ado, I want to jump into our final match before we get to the throwdown, which was a Star Wars match. Sorry, some things got out of order here. We have got Eric the Knight Whiteley against John Crash Hoey. Whiteley from Blind Wave, and Hoey is from Star Wars Net, I do believe. So both presence inside the Star Wars community, news networks, all of that sort of thing. So what we saw from these guys so far, we're going to have to do a little bouncing around here. We saw that Hoey is up by 1, 9-8, coming out of round 1. And then we see, actually, you know what? Let's just do this. We're going to go on the fly here for just a second. let's get rid of this. Now, you and I were talking earlier about just kind of how our weeks have been. I came here straight from another meeting, so this is how we end up with just a little bit of tech issues here. Let me just get rid
Happens to the best of us.
It does. It does happen to the best of us at times. Let me make sure this is what I want. No, it is not. Okay. So, okay. You know what? We are gonna.
While you're doing that, I just want to give a quick shout out to Kelly W in the chat.
Kelly!
We are doing it live.
Yes. Yes, indeed. All right. Let's do this. Copy. Okay, perfect.
Also, Matt. What's up, Matt?
Hi, Matt. All right. Okay. So, we are back online. We're going to just slightly deviate here. Do it old-fashioned way. All right. That is...
Matt asked how are those gummies, which for a second I thought he was talking about different gummies, but he was talking about the gums that Jake sent me. They were delicious, and I broke keto for those gummies, so that's what that was.
All right. So now that we've gotten all of the graphics back in order where they're supposed to be, we are going to look at Hoey is up by 1, 9-8, going into round 2, where we see that John Hoey defers to Whiteley, where Whiteley ends up getting spinner's choice, and he takes A New Hope, where he is able to get 8 out of 10, checking down to multiple choice twice there, where Hoey then retaliates by taking Return of the Jedi on his first spin and sweeping the round for the full 10 for 10, where he gains 2 more points on his lead, now giving him up 3 points, 19-16, going into this third and final round, where Whiteley is able to hit his 2 and 3 in Empire Strikes Back and The Force Awakens, and then bounces back over to Hoy, who he gets a 2-pointer in Planets and Locations and a 3-pointer in Return of the Jedi. And Whiteley does miss a 5-pointer in The Last Jedi, which gives John Hoy the win at 24-21, where Eric Whiteley answered 15 of 18 questions for 83% accuracy and scored 71% of 31 available points. And John Hoy answered 16 of 17 questions for 94% accuracy, scored 93% of 26 available points. So in Star Wars, you expect to see numbers about in this caliber. But overall thoughts on how these guys did?
Some thoughts. Well, let's see. I think that, yeah, you generally do expect to see these numbers, but if you want to play at a championship level, you can't be missing any questions around 1. But that said, I have Eric Whiteley on my fantasy team, so I have faith in Eric Whiteley to come back, because we've talked about, like, Eric Whiteley has just, like, started to, like, hunker down on Star Wars trivia. Like, before he wasn't really a trivia person, but we've seen with Laura Kelly. Laura Kelly didn't get into Star Wars until after The Force Awakens, if I'm not mistaken. So it really depends on the person and how much they hunker down. And I think we could see a big improvement. I think Eric Whiteley's going to get a lot of matches because he has a huge following, and that's good for the Schmoedown because they want people with huge followings to bring more people into the Schmoedown. I found the Schmoedown through Nick Scarpino, who also has a huge following. So it works on me. It's bound to work on other people. So I do expect him to see a lot more matches. I think he was relatively impressive. I think he's going to improve even more. But the tough part for him is he has to play Thomas Harper next. So
I'll say that is his first round in the first Star Wars tournament that's going to be starting up here soon. So that's going to be and we'll actually see Harper in his first match this week. If you're a $10 patron, you already got that match.
Yes.
If not, that will be releasing on YouTube on Wednesday. So be on the eye out for that. I am super excited to get to watch that one. Have not been able to yet this week, but I am super excited to see that one.
I can't wait. But also, John Hoey, so impressive. 94% is impressive even in the Star Wars division. So very, very, very great job by him. And also, Kelly says, will there be a replay of Nat's fantasy segment since it was garbled by Billy's internet? I don't think – I said it was going to be on Twitch, but I don't think we really have time for that. So what am I going to do is I'm just going to drop the link in the chat.
There you go. Perfect. Sounds good. So while you're doing that, again, final warning, if you don't want to be spoiled about the Throwdown matches, we're going to be jumping into those right next here. And something else I will note, Whiteley chose to take A New Hope on Spinner's Choice. That is actually one of the most frequently spun wheel slices or kept slices inside of the Star Wars division. So that's a point of strategy that you might not want to go with that one as your first one, because it's going to start getting even more deep question-wise because it has been used so many times. So just a thought that I came across in my research and during the off season. But without further ado, we're going to be jumping right into Sassy Stacey Howard against Kevin Goodenough Smith, the undercard for the Throwdown match of Throwdown event that took place this past weekend, where we saw that Smith is up by 8-7, having gotten a perfect round, but after a challenge loses the bonus question. So he only comes out of that round with 8 points, up by 1. Then when we jump over to the second round, we see that Smith defers to Stacey Howard to spin first. She spins away from Stephen King, but ends up with Spinner's Choice and decides to take Nora Ephron, where she is only able to get 3 out of 8 points and giving up 1 point and 1 2-point steal, which are both taken up by Smith, who goes and takes Whoopi Goldberg on his first spin and takes 6 out of 8 points with the steals. And that round, he actually gains 6 additional point lead and goes up by 7 points, 17-10 going into the third round, where Stacey's able to hit a 2 and 3 in Quentin Tarantino and biopics, but misses a 5-pointer in animated, which does give Kevin Smith his second TKO with a final score of 19-17, where Stacey answered 11 of 15 questions for 73% accuracy and scored 96% of 27 available points. Kevin Smith answered 14 of 15 questions for 93% accuracy and was able to score 85% of 20 available points. Now, one of the first big questions I had, Kevin Smith is now at 3-0. He's had 2 TKOs, has a 90% accuracy on average of 8 points in round 1, 6 points in round 2, and after 2 rounds total, has an average of about 16 points. Mm-hmm. Now, in your opinion, does this put him in contention for a number 1 title shot as his next match?
So I have a lot of thoughts on Kevin Smith. I was very critical that Coy picked Kevin Smith to be one of his score 3, but I think since he came in the league, they've been kind of like handling him with kid gloves. But Stacey Howard is a legitimate competitor. Mm-hmm. I fully expected her to win, but Kevin Smith lives up to his nickname. He was good enough to pull out the win. Even more than that, I'm very impressed with Kevin. I think that especially since he got a category that in round 2 that he wasn't one of his favorites. He did so well with Whoopi Goldberg. He did so well in this match. 93% is very impressive. I think. In the UFC, there is a rule where usually if you get 3 fights, if you win 3 fights in a row, you get a title shot. I think that the Schmoedown should have something like that, but there are more competitors in the division than there are in the UFC divisions. So I think 4 wins in a row would be enough to garner you a championship match. That's my opinion.
Okay. So at this point, I would say number 1 contender shot should not be his next match. And the reason I'm saying that is if we look back at history, as rookies who came in and were able to get title shots early, how many times did they have to win before they were given those shots? We look at 2015, season 5. Ethan Irwin had 6 matches before he ended up with the title shot. He was 3-0, lost a number 1 contender shot, and then had to work through a tournament with 3 wins before he got his next title shot. Paul Oyama, 2019, season 6, 4 straight wins before he got to a title shot. That is the shortest road that we have seen a rookie in recent seasons have to go. Last year, Adam Collins ran through 6 straight shots, wins to get a tournament title shot. Now, considering, again, as you were saying, kind of the kid gloves treatment, Smith has been able to knock out 2 of his opponents. Now, granted, Stacey Howard is a legitimate player. This was not her best game.
Sure.
She is one of those kind of hot and cold competitors that we can see really impressive numbers, and sometimes things just don't weigh in her favor, and she isn't able to pull off that Stacey Howard magic that we sometimes see. Now, and another reason why I'm saying that number 1 contender match is probably not too near in the future is we already have Oyama, Ellison, Roca, and Bateman all vying for number 1 contender shots currently with this little mini gauntlet that we've got going on. So in order for me to feel comfortable seeing him in a number 1 contender shot or, even jumping up to a title shot, now let me see him against a Brennan Meyer, William Bibiani, Liz Shannon Miller, any of the other 4 guys that I just mentioned, the established, consistent, high-rank competitors. Nothing against him. We've seen him go into the final round 1 time, and he hit his 3-pointer and missed his 2 and his 5. I'm sorry. That does not give me high hopes that you're going to fare well against a consistent competitor that is going to push you to your 5 almost every time. Not to mention when we get into the title shots, we also have to deal with the speed round and the betting round, which are 2 very different animals to deal with at all. So do I think if he continues to win that he could get a title shot? Sure. I'd like to see at least 1, if not 2 more matches against next level competitors before I start garnering that onto him, considering the road he has had thus far in this league.
I do see what you're saying, and I understand the logic behind it, but I do disagree slightly, which is the first time I've ever disagreed with you on the show, so this is a monumental moment.
This is fun.
I think Kevin Smith's next opponent next match should be a number 1 contenders match, and here's why. I think that wins should factor more than actual performance in the match. I think Kevin Smith should get a top 5 opponent next, and then he will earn it in my mind. That's pretty much my reasoning behind it. I think that those other players you mentioned who have had a longer road to the title was because of tournaments. I think if you win 3 matches that are outside of the tournament, then that warrants a title shot.
Okay. I like I said, fair. I think from a build-up for his sake, I wouldn't necessarily pull. I do agree. We could put him into a number 1 contender shot, but it would have to be a loser of this kind of mini gauntlet we've got going right now. That's what I would force if I was curating booking matches. That's what I would want to shift towards. Yeah. And that also gives him more time to work through, because it's going to take a little while to get through this little mini gauntlet that we've got going on currently, considering how stacked this league is already. We're already trying to get all these rookies in. We're trying to get the established competitors shots before we get into tournament season. So definitely a lot of things to consider, a lot of things for you guys to think about. We do have a little bit of slight difference. I may be a little bit more critical of performance, but
I was in your place like before his match with Stacey. Like his match with Stacey really won me over. And also like I think in an ideal world, I would like to see Daniel defend the title like every month or so. I want to see him defend it more frequently to get me those fantasy points. But
yes,
I do think at this point there are more people more deserving than Kevin Smith right now. But I think that he should be in line for it if he wins his next match. That's all I'm saying. And also, hi to Manny in the chat.
Hey, man. Good to see you. All right. Now, the one that really, really got me interested. We have, wow, what happened here?
Oh.
Why did things get so out of order? Anyways, we are going to kind of go in reverse order here. Adam the Coyote Collins, first defense against Dangerous Dan Merle. Should make anybody nervous. If you have to make your first defense against him, that's a little bit scary. We're going to back up to where I was. Perfect. So coming out of round 1 in this match, we had Collins up by 1, 7-6. Then we get into round 2. Collins elects to spin first. Will kind of be a trend during this match. He's playing very aggressive during this whole match, where he gets 7 out of 8 in DreamWorks animation, which he takes on his very first spin. Then we get down to Dan Merle, who spins away from Halle Berry, takes courtroom and legal dramas on that second spin, sweeps the round for the full 8 for 8. So now Merle has gained 1 point, and they are tied at 14 going into round 3, or the betting round, where Collins would have been the spinner. They land on movie release dates. They both bet 3 points and both get the question. So they are still tied now at 17 going into the speed round, where Colin elects to answer questions first, answers all 10 questions correct within the allotted time, does pass on question 4, but is able to answer it on the repeat ask. So for a perfect 10 for 10 in that round. Merle answers all 10 within the time expiring without passing. However, he misses question 4, which gives him 8 points with the -1 for the speed round, answering 9 out of 10 questions, again, for 8 points, which now gives Collins the lead by 2 points, 27-25, going into the championship round, where it is a back and forth with the 2-pointers. Merle answers his in horror, Collins in scores and soundtracks. 3-pointers, same thing. Merle hits a family films question. Collins hits his 3-pointer in crime. Bounces it back over to Merle to hit a 5-pointer in black cinema, leaving Collins the opportunity to win the game, hitting a 5-pointer in thrillers. He cannot pull it, which gives Merle the win with a final score of 35-32, where Adam Collins answered 24 of 26 questions for 92% accuracy, scored 80% of 40 available points. Dan Merle answered 23 of 26 questions, 89% accuracy, and 88% of 40 available points. Now we're going to stay on this for just a second, because Collins has a higher accuracy. Mm-hmm. But that 5-pointer, 5-time champion, Dan Merle pulls it out, a perfect 10 points in that final round, hitting his 5-pointer. That was the difference that made it, and bumps up that potential points earned above Collins's, giving him the win. So, something that was really interesting that I heard Merle say during the match: it's not about perfection, it's about winning. That ended up being very true here in this match, because, again, accuracy-wise, he did not answer as many questions correct as Collins did, but he answered them for the big points when he needed it. Taking nothing away from Collins, he was an amazing competitor inside this match. However, that 5-pointer wasn't able to pull it, and that was the difference maker. He wasn't able to get enough ahead of Collins was not able to get ahead of Merle enough to make that difference. Now, something interesting that we're going to look at here again. Had Merle missed that 3-pointer, which he did admit that he was guessing, making an educated guess on an answer. If he misses that 3-pointer, we're in the same position that we were, and we go into sudden death again for this match. With that in mind, I pulled up the match breakdowns from the title match at Spectacular and the one that we just saw. And we're going to do a little comparing on what types of numbers that we saw from these competitors. Let's just kind of break down a little bit here what we've got. Match 1 and match 2 for Collins. Round 1, 9 points, 7 points. Round 2, 8 points, 7 points. Now that 8 is not a sweep of the round. He actually got a steal off of Merle. So actually the same number of points in round 2 for Collins, just an extra steal opportunity there, which bumps that number up.
Mm-hmm.
Only betting 1 point the first match, betting 3 points the second match. Round 4, 10, 10. Goes perfect in the speed round both times. Round 5, 5 points, 5 points. Missing the 5 both times. However, because if we look down at Merle's numbers, Merle only got 7 points in the first match, but got all 10 in the second match. So this pushed us, the first match, it was pushed to sudden death with the same number of points earned by Collins. Craziness. Accuracies for Collins, 94, 92%, 88, 89 for Merle, 81, 80% for Collins. Merle, 81, 88% potential points earned. Again, it was those 5 pointers that made the difference inside of this game. And then just looking at the dynamics of the match that we saw, match 1, after round 1, they were tied. Match 2, Collins up by 1. After round 2, Collins is up by 3 in the first match. Merle was able to tie it in match 2. After 3 rounds, after that third round, Collins is up by 2 in the first match. They were still tied in the second match. After round 4, both matches, Collins is up by 2 points. So if you eliminate everything from those previous matches, Collins ended up in the exact same position both matches.
Wow.
Yes. Same point differential, 2 points. That was crazy.
Yeah, I did not see that coming. Yeah, that's huge.
Yes, indeed. So, but again, after round 5 in match 1, they are tied, which pushes it into sudden death where Collins was able to gain the victory. But with Merle hitting the 5-pointer and Collins being able to capitalize on that, he is up by 3, giving him the win in this second match. Totally crazy. I love comparing two competitors going up against each other in the similar fashion. Inevitably, I feel like there is going to be a rubber match here. I just feel like these two are both still so good. You're going to see them face off again at some point. Especially now, Collins has now been set loose again to wreak havoc in another tournament.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Merle set him loose. Like he's oh my god, he's gonna be dangerous. That no pun intended, but like, wow. I think that when you have two players as good as Merle and Adam Collins, they are bound to meet over and over again, and I see that happening with these two. This match was. Where do I start with this match? There were so many surprises. I will say I don't think that Merle played his best game in this match because there were a few mistakes that he would not have normally made. Like, I would have expected him to go perfect round 1, and when he missed the very first question, that was a huge shock. And during the betting round, when he got that Amy Adams question wrong, that was also a big mistake. So the fact that he clawed his way to a win in round number 5 is very impressive to me, and it also goes to show how important the 5-point question is, because that can make or break you.
Absolutely, especially when you don't have, and even when you have, we've seen instances where people being up a significant number of points, even against Merle, you have to count on him getting all 10 points inside that final round because it's Dan Merle. That is his consistency. Yeah. There might be some fumbles early on, but he is very consistent and very highly accurate inside of that final round when the points count.
And also, Dan Merle is going to Dan Merle. Like I said this in my fantasy update, but every year we see Dan Merle beat the reigning defending singles champion in their season opener, and it happened again this year. Like I stopped drafting singles champions. Sam Levine retired. Ethan Irwin got beat by Dan Merle. Ben Bateman got beat by Dan Merle. Adam Collins got beat by Dan Merle. This is what Dan Merle does.
Mm-hmm. Oh, hey, we've got a rare appearance here.
Oh, who's that guy?
I don't know, but yeah, the bet was clutch. Biggest swing. Well, there's the thing, though. If he doesn't bet all three, again, we're still looking at a very different match. He's down even further if he doesn't swing for the fences there on that betting round, which just in general, looking at the breakdown of the two matches, both of them, Collins definitely was swinging for the fences in this match. He kept on the offensive. He answered questions first. He was going first in round 2. He went first in the speed round. He was trying to just gain that edge. And Merle just kept chipping away at stuff. He'd take a step back, but he'd jump right back into it again. He just stayed cool, calm, and collected. They were both a little bit more conservative on the betting round in that very first match that they were in. Off the top of my head right now, I can't remember what that category was. But considering they were at a 3-point, Merle was at a 3-point deficit in that match at that point in the game versus this latest match, they were tied. So that does also, from a strategy standpoint, can make a difference on what you do betting wise. So
yeah,
definitely very, very interesting things to look at. I'm sure things are going to get analyzed by other people as well, but these were things that just made so cool to look at. Collins is still a force. This definitely does not take away from him as a competitor. If anything, it just goes to show, you put up high accuracy consistently. Sometimes that's not enough, but more times than not, that is still going to get you wins. And I don't see him backing down at all.
I don't think there's any shame. There's any shame in losing to Dan Merle. Dan Merle is the GOAT. So if you're going to lose, if you lose to Dan Merle, I think you're going to be okay. But I will say that I think Adam Collins had the right strategy in playing aggressive, because I think that if you're playing an opponent the caliber of Dan Merle or the caliber of Adam Collins, you have to assume that during the betting round, they're going to bet 3 and they're going to get all of them. So you have to play aggressive. And I do think the category matters a little bit, but when you're as good at these two, I think you should have confidence in yourself, and should have confidence that your opponent's going to do the same. So I do like the way this match went better than the first match they had.
Okay, I was going to say, Manny had a question of which would you say is the better match overall? That's an interesting question for me. So Nat, it sounds like you're leaning more towards the most recent match. Is that correct?
It's hard to say because I do enjoy sudden death matches, but I also like it when my players get me fancy points. So I do prefer this one for that reason.
You are very biased in that, and I appreciate that about you. So I think just because it was end of the year, you didn't know what Collins was going to do in a tournament match against Merle, and it was there were more dramatic swings, I feel like, in that first match, which made it more interesting. Of course, going into sudden death is always nerve-wracking and exciting from a watching the match standpoint. But then seeing the second match, it had a different feel to it. It was much more of a scrap, much more of a very close match, not as big point differentials between them, and it was close, and you didn't know what was going to happen until the end. I don't know. I don't know which one is. I mean, if you're looking at, I don't know. Because the accuracies are actually fairly similar, except for the potential points earned for Dan went up. Otherwise, they were pretty consistent across the board. So there's not, I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard because like the matches, they're both really good. And if you're looking at just the numbers, then it's really a toss-up. But I'm factoring in everything from like story elements. Corruption's the defending faction champs. Merle has a brand new faction. He's trying to redeem himself. I think the story is a lot stronger this match than it was last match, where it was the hotshot rookie running through the tournament and facing off with the GOAT. I think while that is a very compelling story, I love the story of this match more, just a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I still have a little bit of that. I think this match that we just recently had is impressive when I compare it to the other one. Because again, you're looking at a very similar situation. Whereas if I'm looking at just the two of them from an entertainment standpoint, I am a little bit more tempted to go with the spectacular match because it had so much more build up to it. This one came in such quick succession to it where, yes, you are looking at Dan trying to come back. We've also seen it happen at least 3 other times. He's now a 5-time champion. It's, it's something that we've seen before.
That's
Whereas with the first match, it was a little bit more of it had more build up from the get-go. What you don't have, I don't know. They're so intertwined because they are essentially a rematch in quick succession. Yeah. So I think just from the pure entertainment standpoint, I liked the spectacular match better, but they both have such interesting stories to tell within the match themselves that I don't know if I can pick. I cannot wait for the rubber match though.
Can't wait.
Because I will say, whenever Merle has been faced with a rubber match, he has not lost. He besses 2 out of 3 each time.
Wow.
Will this break the streak though? Because Collins is gonna be hungry even more.
Hungry for GOAT, yeah. Oh my God, I can't call it. These two are just so evenly matched that it could go either way. But I will say that there's no wrong answer when it comes to which match you prefer. They're both excellent matches. So, and I do see what you're saying, where we've seen Darren Merle have that redemption arc before, and honestly, we probably will see it again. But to me, that doesn't make it any less special because it's so impressive. Like Adam Collins is seen as this juggernaut who's unstoppable, and it's the classic immovable object versus the irresistible force. That's what it is to me. So can't wait for a third match.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, I would say Kelly's absolutely right. Both these matches are awesome in their own rights, and probably if you ask me this question next week, I might give you a different answer. It's definitely one of those. They are very interchangeable for me. And it was just, I had more fun comparing the two matches, almost as much as thinking about, okay, which one did I like better? It's like, I liked the aftermath of getting to look at both these matches and comparing these two amazing competitors and just being very excited for what's going to be coming up next. Such crazy matches. But we are going a little bit longer than normal, but that's okay because I am geeking and I am nerding out about these numbers because that is what I get to do on this show and I love it. But we are going to go ahead and do our final remarks for this week. That's going to be it for the matches here. Be sure to come back next week. We're going to be doing the same thing. We're going to be doing some breakdowns of rookies and kind of how their performances line up against each other because we will only have 3 matches to break down for next week. Be sure to check out Call Live. Of course, you're going to get that lovely fantasy update from Nat, as well as a breakdown of the matches, as well as talking about the cutscenes and all the other amazing things that happen besides the numbers inside the matches. Nat, anything going on this week for you?
Let's see. Well, you should definitely check out Call Live. Last episode, it was really good. We had Barbarian and Ty Lieberman on, and I was on there. I was planning on being there for like 5 minutes max, but then Billy's connection crashed, and I had to step up. So that was a really fun show. Catch me tomorrow on Twitch Tuesdays, right there, 6 p.m. PT with my co-host Dylan, who's in the chat. What else do I got? No Chill. You can check that out whenever it's out. Catch on Patreon, patreon.com/call to action. I would just say, like, on that last AAA Live episode, when Dylan queued me up, I had that ready. I nailed that transition. Just want to point that out. But yeah, check out AAA Live too. It was me, Megs, and Dylan, and it was a great show. We broke down Alex Damon's character work and also how to beat Lon Harris. So you should check that out.
Yes. And speaking of people in the chat, awesome to see Nerd Chronic hanging out with us. Awesome that we get your creative juices flowing, because you definitely inspire us with all your amazing promos and everything that you do during the matches. But yeah, thanks for hopping in, and always appreciate everything that you do. Always awesome to see that. But again, do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe on this video so that you can be alerted of all the great things that we're doing here on the Call to Action channel. If you want to support us further, make sure you're checking out that Patreon. There's some neat perks in there that you'll get to hang out with us even a little bit more. But until next time, for Nat and myself, this has been After Action Report, and till next week, signing off.